Hey guys, Magnet back here with a Legacy of the Void beta balance update number 1 that Blizzard just released here the last few hours. I thought we would just get on here and talk about these a little bit, kind of give my input on it, and of course explain what's going on in the game. So as you can see, the units on there did get changed: Adept, Immortal, Cyclone, Lurker, and Tempest. And they also released a little bit of what they're looking at for the next patch, so that was a little bit interesting. So let's take a look at these. The first thing that they changed is the Adept, like we mentioned. They upped their health from 60-80 to 90-90, and then of course being shields and HP. The upgrade on the Adepts that was there before that allowed a bounce to another target after it killed a unit has been removed, and they added a new one which gives them plus 50 to shields, which is interesting. It's not really an upgrade that's ever been in the game before. And also the shade ability can be cancelled, meaning that you can throw in a shade and then just cancel it and not actually commit to it if you don't want to, which will make harassment very annoying from these things. It's clear that this unit was underused the most from Protoss Arsenal, especially from everything that they got changed or added. And it's also clear that this unit wasn't really a core unit quite yet. So all three of these are really overboard, I have to say. Like, everyone's going to be using Adepts like all the time now. Plus 50 to shields for these units makes them really beefy. That's 230 for a unit that's only 100 minerals and 25 gas. Not to mention their light counter tag. These guys are going to be used all the time, and especially with that upgrade, or that ability being able to be cancelled in the middle of it, you're going to see harasses from these things all the time, and it's going to be ridiculously annoying, considering they don't even really have to commit to it if you respond to it properly. So I don't know, this will be interesting, but I don't think many of these are going to stick around for too long, but it's clear they're looking for a way to make this unit useful, and it's clearly not right now. So checking out the Immortal Changes, the only change was that the barrier ability absorbs 200 damage now instead of just 100, which was a very needed change considering these things were just flat out bad with how they got changed. At best, I would say that they were about what they were before, but now this is a lot different. These things are going to be a lot stronger, so look for a lot more Immortal play, which we definitely were not seeing too much of in the beta thus far. But yeah, so pretty simple change there. They've been kind of going back and forth on this one for a while, especially in Alpha. They had it at 200 initially, then they were like, oh, it's too strong with the Warp Prism, let's make it 100, and now they're just changing it back, so I guess we'll have to see what happens with that. Cyclone Changes. This one was a big one because as it is now, or at least as it was, depending on whenever they push these things out, and whenever you guys are watching this video, the lock-on range in the early game was insane at 15, so they reduced that down to 12, which ought to make it a little bit more reasonable against Protoss in the early game, but you can still increase that range up to 15 after getting the upgrade that comes with these guys. So it increases the lock-on distance for the initial one, and the lock-on distance as it continues to fire later on. So some interesting changes here. This seemed necessary as well. We'll have to see how this all works out. Overall, this is fairly like tepid. It's not the biggest of changes, but it was very necessary. So we're not going to see as many like automatic Cyclone openers against Protoss from this point forward. It'll still be reasonable, but it won't be just ridiculous as it is right now. Lurker Changes. This one was huge as well. This is a change where they removed the attack range upgrade. No range attack upgrade. I really kind of derped out on this phrasing there, but basically their Lurker used to start at 6 range, now it starts at 9, and the range upgrade was to make it so that they could actually shoot at that 9 range, whereas they just get it by default now. There's also a shorter burrow time, I think that's how I translated it from what they said. They said it's more responsive after burrowing, but I think that they meant the delay between when it burrows and when it actually fires. So just kind of trying to make these things a little bit more useful, and the 9 range is actually really long. So these things are going to be pretty annoying for the next little while. But also I think it was a needed change considering they weren't used overly too much. Seeing them out was kind of a little bit of a gimmick. They didn't always perform the best. But we'll have to see, especially in ZVZ, this is something I want to see more and more of. So this was a good change, I think. Tempest Changes. Ability damage was increased to 550 over 50 seconds, and they also added a tag that says the unit cannot heal when it's under this status. So that was their whole, like, you tag a unit and it takes damage over a certain amount of time. I still don't think that's going to make it worth people going out of the way to get Tempest, considering they're just not that useful in the beta right now. I don't think I've seen a single game where Tempest got out, except for one where I played when I was just messing around. So it doesn't really count too much, but yeah, these guys definitely need some help, and they need some help making this unit actually interesting, because the range thing, like, it's basically a Cyclone. Cyclones have this big long range, but they're a lot more mobile. They're almost as expensive. Like, Tempest is more expensive than a Cyclone, so like if you just compare the units straight up, I think the Cyclones are pretty much better overall in every way, and this ability doesn't even change that. So they have to do something big with the Tempest, because they're just kind of dead in the water right now. And this is not going to do much. This is going to get changed or altered or something. I don't think this is going to stick around for very long, because nobody really cares about the Tempest right now. And what's next? This was interesting that they mentioned what they were looking at for this next patch, and they basically said that Protoss can't take bases very well once the game gets super late because their warp-ins are so slow. So they were thinking about having faster warp-ins, and specifically only having them on the Adept, which is kind of a weird idea, considering it's a little bit of a disconnect, saying that, oh, Adepts warp in really fast, but everything warps in really slow. It's definitely a dynamic they haven't quite played with yet, but I'm not totally sure how that's going to work out. They're also, and this comes with a massive sigh, thinking about splitting the mech upgrades again for Terran. And it's like, geez, guys, just make up your mind. Like, they had it so that mech and Stargate, or Starport, excuse me, units were separated throughout Wings of Liberty. And then everyone was like, oh, we never actually get that far into the game, so why don't you just combine them? And they're like, okay, so they did that. Mech gets used a little more, still not too much anymore, and then they make mech, I guess, worse by just splitting them back up, or thinking about it. And this is just like, geez, guys, just make up your mind. I don't know why they keep switching this back and forth. This is like the bunker change all over again, where they change it, and then they change it back, and then they think about changing it back, and it's like, geez, just keep it where it is, it's fine. And general late game transitions they're keeping their eye on. They say that they're pretty happy with where it is right now in terms of people getting things like battlecruisers, carriers, ultralisks, broodlords, stuff like that out. I don't know if I've seen enough of super long games to be able to judge that. They are definitely more accessible, but I still don't think people are quite in the mindset of trying to get there, with the exception of getting the ultras out, because the ultras getting out against Terran are really, really common, and they're super strong, so not too much of a big deal as far as on the Zergan, but I don't see a lot of Terrans going out of their way to get battlecruisers, and I don't see a lot of Protosses going out of their way to get things like carriers and Tempest without dying fairly quickly as far as getting those. So, well, that's definitely what they're keeping their eye on, so I guess we'll see what comes down in the next little couple weeks or two, or week or two. Couple weeks or two, that doesn't make sense. As far as myself, more content is on the way. I have been insanely busy with school. This is my last few weeks, and once I graduate I'll be heading over to Korea and then working, so I will have a lot more free time after work and on the weekends and stuff to make more content, but there has been a big delay in my content for the time being. But I do have replays from people, and we're going to get another replay here from Puck against Top. It's a PvT. Moto K versus Frogus. Frogus, I don't know who that is, but they definitely got a replay there. That's a TVT. And HTL Mario versus Kiwi Kaki. And those of you that are really old school might think in Kiwi Kaki and look at that name and be like, really? He's back, huh? But yeah, Kiwi Kaki is back playing the beta, playing against HDO Mario. So we'll check out those 3 games, none of which I've really seen before, so it should be a surprise to all of us. So yeah, check those out in the next few days. I'll try to release them 1 a day, so look out for that on the channel. Subscribe if you want to get more updates for Legacy of the Void. Legacy of the Void, I was combining Legacy of the Void and beta, so Legacy of the Void, we'll call it that. Subscribe if you want more information about that in the near future, but check out my videos in the that'll be dropping in the next couple days, and I'll see you guys soon.